This video provides an overview of how sheep producers can develop biosecurity plans using the new voluntary National Sheep On-Farm Biosecurity Standard and Planning Guide. If you would like general information about on-farm biosecurity, please see Part 1, Why Biosecurity Matters. An on-farm biosecurity plan includes all the management practices an individual producer uses to protect his or her flock from infectious diseases. Biosecurity management practices are implemented to achieve three basic goals: to minimize, prevent, or control the induction of disease to a flock, the spread of disease within a flock, and the spread of disease to other flocks. Although these goals are the same for all farmers, each producer faces unique challenges, and biosecurity plans need to be customized to suit each operation. Guides are available to help producers develop effective, practical, and comprehensive on-farm biosecurity plans. The voluntary National Sheep On-Farm Biosecurity Standard and Planning Guide was developed by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency with input from producers, veterinarians, and industry experts. The program is divided into two booklets. The standard booklet is intended for producers, veterinarians, commodity organizations, buyers, and consumers or international authorities who wish to understand what is expected of farms participating in the program. The Planning Guide booklet follows the same framework as the standard, but includes step-by-step details on how to develop a biosecurity plan. This document is intended to help producers develop effective biosecurity plans customized for their individual operations. For simplicity's sake, this video focuses on the national standard and its planning guide, but there are other biosecurity resources available to producers. Alberta Agriculture and the Alberta Veterinary Medical Association have developed a best practices booklet, which also contains many helpful guidelines and clear descriptions of biosecurity concepts. There are specific steps involved in developing a biosecurity plan using the planning guide. First, work with your veterinarian to identify the diseases of concern to your flock, such as those that are causing the greatest losses. Next, closely review your current management practices and identify any gaps that may lead to disease outbreaks. Finally, if management gaps are identified, implement practices that will correct the problem. Results will vary with each farm. For example, a biosecurity plan for a feedlot will have a very different focus than one for a purebred flock. Even within the same type of operation, biosecurity plans will be unique based on diseases of concern and current management. To give a clear idea of how to use the planning guide, we will now look at each of these steps in more detail. The planning guide uses checklists of common diseases to help clearly identify those that are causing you the greatest problems and concerns. We recommend that you work with your veterinarian on this list, as veterinarians will have detailed knowledge of how diseases are transmitted and will know of any regional concerns. This is an example of a disease list from the planning guide. This table is for diseases affecting young lambs. Similar tables are included for other disease groups such as abortions, wasting diseases, and others. The tables include relevant information about disease transmission and if other species can be affected. You are asked to record if controlling each disease is of low, medium, or high importance for your operation. Once the first step is complete, you will know what diseases are of concern in your operation and understand how they are transmitted. For example, if pulpy kidney disease in lambs is a concern on your operation, it is important to know that it is caused by clostridial spores that are commonly found in soil and that it is often triggered by diet. The next step of the planning guide will help you to clearly identify the risks of transmitting these diseases in your current management program. For example, identifying that pulpy kidney disease has been a problem for you in the past is one step. Recognizing that your lambs are being fed a high-grain diet and have not been vaccinated helps complete the picture. Self-assessment checklists in the planning guide take a systematic approach to looking at your current management practices to identify potential disease transmission points. To help organize the self-assessment checklists into management areas, they are divided into 4 groups or principles. The Animal Health Management Principle includes activities related to sheep handling and health practices. Reviewing this management area will help determine if there are gaps in your flock health practices and where disease transmission may occur between different groups of sheep. The record-keeping principle includes information that you will need to record, review, and use. Keeping records takes time, but it is critical to maintaining effective biosecurity. For example, knowing when and how the animal was treated helps you assess whether the treatment was effective. Records also help demonstrate the health status of your flock to other producers and customers. The Farm Facilities and Equipment Principle focuses on the layout and management of the buildings, pens, and equipment on your farm. Reviewing this area will help detect if your management relating to such things as feeding equipment or tools like used needles or unclean shears are potentially contributing to disease spread on your farm. In the fourth principle, the activities of people entering and working on your farm are assessed for their potential to introduce or spread diseases within your flock. For example, farm workers or shearers that move from farm to farm likely pose a higher threat than visitors who do not enter your sheep pens. Checklists identify your current management practices for each of the 4 principles. This is one of the self-assessment checklists from the Planning Guide for the Animal Health Management Principles. Section references give more information about why this practice is significant for biosecurity and practices that can be implemented to improve management. After completing the self-assessment checklists for each of the 4 principles, you are asked to answer 2 questions. What areas need improvement on my operation, and what improvements can I make? The final section of the Planning Guide is designed to help you answer question 2. It can help pinpoint the management practices you can implement to effectively decrease disease risks. In the final step, you will identify the risk management practices that will help fill the management gaps identified in the self-assessment section. This section is divided into the same 4 principles that are used in the self-assessment section. The risk management practices are cross-referenced to more background information and protocols relating to each management practice. For example, Section 3.1.2 will help you learn more about why it is important to buy replacement breeding stock from a limited number of sources. Using this format, the Planning Guide helps producers develop a comprehensive program that will consider all sources of disease transmission entering, within, and exiting your flock. It is important to note the heading of this section is Risk Management, not Risk Prevention. This program recognizes that sheep farms do not exist in a vacuum. It is necessary at times for producers to engage in risky behavior, such as buying new breeding stock. The focus of this program is to gain the necessary knowledge to recognize when disease transmission may occur and take as many precautions as possible to mitigate that risk. Some producers may question whether the time and effort involved in setting up a biosecurity plan is really worthwhile. Sooner or later, all sheep flocks will be challenged by disease. A biosecurity plan can help prevent or minimize the risk of a full-blown disease outbreak that can cause high mortality and devastate flock profitability. Your plan also helps control the less dramatic but still costly disease losses that occur through increased feed costs and reduced reproductive performance. Using biosecurity, you are able to detect and deal with diseases more effectively and efficiently. You may already be using many of the practices recommended by the Planning Guide. Implementing an organized biosecurity plan for your operation will help ensure you are covering all disease risk and can help validate the health status of your flock through documentation. The Planning Guide provides information about how diseases are transmitted and where potential problems may exist. Gaining this knowledge can help you look at your daily routine and flock management in a new way. Changes taken to improve biosecurity do not necessarily have to be expensive, complicated, or high-tech to be effective. For example, simply changing the order in which you handle or feed different animal groups can help reduce the spread of disease within your flock. Changes to biosecurity do not have to be made all at once. Working through the Planning Guide and identifying the greatest risks to your flock will help pinpoint where the changes are needed most. Once practical management changes have been made, they will become a regular part of your daily routine. You can find more information about biosecurity on the Alberta Lamb Producers, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and Alberta Veterinary Medical Association websites. Download a copy of the National Sheep On-Farm Biosecurity Standard and Planning Guide from inspection.gc.ca. Consulting with your veterinarian can help you identify and address biosecurity issues specific to your operation. Thank you to Growing Forward 2 for their support in strengthening the Alberta lamb industry by promoting the use of on-farm biosecurity plans. Please visit www.growingforward.alberta.ca for information about grants available to producers for enhancing on-farm biosecurity.